We all respond to pain in clear, predictable, and reasonable sets of behaviors. They're not crazy, they're not childish, they're not meant to hurt one another, they're meant to protect yourself. That's how God created our brains, to protect ourselves from injury, to protect ourselves from threat. The limbic system that Jen described is an essential part of how our brains function. So we don't want to make those pieces the faulty mechanisms of how we act. No, these are essential pieces to reduce threat. It's how we survive.
Stop it, Stanley, okay? Just stop.
You say you can't depend on me, that I never do anything for you, that I always leave you stranded. Well, I'm going to work because I have to. But before I do, I'm going to make sure the garage is clean like I promised. So you can either help me or get out the way, but please don't stop me from doing what I want to do. Actually, I don't care what you do because I don't really think it matters to you.
Okay, you know what? Obviously, I'm not doing you any good being here, and you're not doing me any good being here, so I'm gonna just remove myself from this situation.
Fine.
It's like, I don't even know what to do anymore. We're not that bad. Most of the time, we're even pretty good, but then you have days like today. I see his rage, his anger, his hurt. I know it's there. I'm aware that I'm making it worse, but at the same time, no one's taking care of me or my needs. I tell him what I need. He nods his head, but then nothing ever changes. It's like I just feel so exhausted and discouraged.
Is that your sister? Of course it is. Tell her hello from her favorite screw-up brother-in-law. Anyway, the garage is cleaned, and I told the kids that maybe when I come back, we can watch a movie or go bike riding or something. As for us, maybe we'll talk when I come back.
Stanley and Amani have demonstrated visually for us what it looks like to walk through pain, defense, and offense. But most of the time, when we experience the defensive reactions of other people, we misunderstand them. We think that they're directed towards us because we are not thinking like an us. We're thinking like it's me against you. And if you are showing reactions to your own pain, it must be because you're trying to hurt or control or manipulate me. We often have the phrase in the broader culture of weapons and military, like this tank is being designed for defensive purposes only, or this missile system is for protection. But no one ever sees it that way. If you are the target of the missile system, you're not thinking, oh, that's my neighboring country and they're just out to protect themselves. No, you're thinking that thing that's aimed at my backyard is going to hurt me. We do the same thing in marriage. When we encounter pain, we exhibit defenses. When you exhibit your defenses, I tend to see them as threats to me. Therefore, I push back against your defenses, and that provokes more pain. Then you create your defense as a push, as you experience me pushing against you. So you then, as part of your self-protection, push back against me. It's this insidious cycle that we get trapped in. Consider Stanley. He's overwhelmed, emotional, angry, misunderstood, so he withdraws. He's not trying to stick it to Amani by his withdrawal. He's just trying to protect himself. Amani doesn't think, that's my husband, God bless him. He's managing his pain in the best way he knows. No, she thinks, he's going after me. He's hurting me. He's rejecting me. I'm being abandoned. And this is actually little to do with him and a lot to do with her.
So, because Amani, it seems like what she really is asking for is connection.
Yeah.
Right? That was the original ask,
Yeah.
right? She was asking for connection, time together. She wanted to go to the coffee shop together,
Yeah.
right? And to get things done around the
Yeah.
house.
Uh-huh.
And that was her original one. And so when she starts asking him for that and he gets pulled away from her, this has just knocked her pain defense really quickly. I mean, she very quickly moved into a pain defense kind of cycle. And so then she starts getting kind of kind of lobbing criticisms. She's lobbing criticisms at him, and she's kind of throwing the criticisms at him. And that's got to be hitting him right where he's at, because he's the good guy.
Yeah.
And yet he's being told, no, you're not good enough. Like, you're not meeting my needs. You don't care about me. Like, and you just kind of get this cycle going. Yeah.
And for Amani too, it's clearly that we use the cliche phrase, it's not her first rodeo. It's not the first time that that she has felt like, he disappointed me again.
Right.
I trusted him that he would be there for another Saturday and we would, no.
Right.
So it might be the first time that he's been called out to a golf event for work, but it's not the first time that he's been called out and she's been left alone.
Right. Yeah.
These details will be different in our marriages, different in your marriages, but the steps are almost always the same. It's how we get stuck and how we perpetuate our stuckness in marriage. We'll just cycle through the same pattern and we'll do it for decades. We never stop.
Yeah. And we have to have the defenses because we all do it.
Yeah.
We all have to have these defenses, and we have to do it. And well, that's partially true. We have to do something.
You have to do something.
We have to do something in response to our pain. And we've been doing it since the day we were born. When we were born, the first thing that a baby does is cry, right? That's the baby's first defense. It feels the pain of birth and it cries. In fact, that's a good sign, right? That the baby is healthy. Painful circumstances produce this kind of automated response.
As we age, we create language. And we put language in our pain responses, and that complicates them. So we move from real simple nonverbal pain, like crying, to being able to use words to substitute for our crying. If every time you just cried whenever you encountered any kind of pain, but you could not think, you could not talk, you could not interact, you would be the mature person that you were when you were just 2. But now you're older. We can think of ways that people might try to respond to pain. Really, they're really good ways. We go play golf, as Stanley did, or we play with our kids, or we go read a book. We play video games. We avoid, we substitute, we place in to our lives other things to distract and pull us away from that source of pain.
Yeah, and not all of them are bad. I mean,
No.
Sometimes people have to do their shopping therapy. And that can be a good thing. Or have a long talk with a friend, or even prayer. Prayer can be a great way to handle the sense of pain. In fact, that's what the whole Psalms is full of. The author being full of pain and then responding to God in prayer. So our defenses can be risky and harmful. They can be really harmful, like drinking or using drugs or something, or they can be healthy things too. So one of the things we want you to consider is what kinds of defenses you tend to use whenever you're in pain in life in general, but also in your marriage. And encourage you to think about perhaps using prayer a little more often than you have, or reinstating it if it's gotten off track any, as a way to deal with some of that pain, defense, offense tornado. There's even some interesting research that's shown that couples who are able to recognize that they're in some conflict and then they stop and do a blessing prayer, it's very effective, actually, at short-circuiting some of that pain, defense, offense tornado. So we understand. We all cry. We all withdraw. We all get angry. But there are different ways to handle it.
Yeah. One story that comes to mind around this pain defense cycle and the offense that occurs, I was talking to a couple once. He was a firefighter. Think about his suit, his helmet, coat, pants, boots, gloves, as a defense. I asked him how much heat he can take. In other words, how much pain does that suit allow him protection? He said, I can stand 1,000 degrees when I'm fully suited. Then I suggested, what would happen if your captain sent you to the back of the house to enter into a burning building and you fell into the swimming pool? In other words, the suit that so protects him from flame he's now in a different pain context. He's now underwater. He said, I would die in a minute. No one's gonna see me, no one's gonna pull me out, and I'm gonna sink to the bottom like a rock. So in other words, what he needs in that context, he needs a bathing suit. And the defense that he is using is actually detrimental. It's actually causing his death. It's causing greater pain. So we need to look at our defenses and be able to switch them out. If I just have a fire suit and I'm using a fire suit against any threat, I might find myself ill-equipped sometimes. So what's interesting in marriage relationships is that one defense can be the other person's offense, and that defense might be not the appropriate tool to extinguish whatever painful things are occurring at this moment. Now consider Amani. If she wants to talk about how Stanley is not there, or how he doesn't focus on emotional needs, Stanley could get offended and assume that she is criticizing. Or if Stanley wants to go work out alone and deal with his stress, Amani can feel abandoned and lonely. The way that each person responds to the pain becomes a reactive agent. But you can ask, is this the only response that I could use? Are there other defenses that might be implemented right now? We all have defenses, and we all are offended by other people's defenses, but we have to be able to interchange and use different ones in order to make them more appropriate for this context.
All kinds of defenses that we have. We mentioned crying earlier as our first defense. But you know, the second thing that happens if you have a toddler or if you know any toddlers and they don't get what they want, one of the things they do very quickly is they learn to hit. 2 or 3-year-olds, they will hit, and it works. It gets them noticed, and it gets them what they need. So we can use those kinds of defenses too in marriage. We can cry. We can raise our voice in a way to respond to our pain in anger and show our anger in a variety of ways. We hope, of course, that there's not hitting in marriages. As adults, we mature. We use language. We learn. We'll always use the old defenses too, but we have a capacity to learn some new ones. And one of the things that we want to encourage you to think about doing is adding more and more healthy defense responses that you can use in your relationship. We'll be talking more about that as we go along. This limbic system kicks in and you get the pain, defense, offense cycle playing out. And it may be in the moment you do cry and you can't stop it. It's an automatic response. Or you may feel angry and your voice gets gravelly and you're kind of thing. So you may not be able to stop the automation, but you can notice what's happening and begin to engage with each other. So you have to think about, what do you want to do? We want to close out this session by looking at Scripture to help us to think about how do we want to respond to difficult circumstances. I'm going to read Colossians 3, 8 through 10. But now, you must also rid yourself of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge and the image of the Creator. In your group, you're going to talk about some of the pain, defense, offense cycle this time, in a complete circle this time. You're going to hear from others, and what I really want you to do is to listen and to see if other people in your group have similar ways of trying to handle this pain, defense, offense system as you're becoming more aware of it. For small group leaders, at the end of the sharing time today, we really would like to ask you to bring the pain that everyone is sharing in the group, the kinds of stresses in their life that they face, to God, and to have a prayer of blessing over every couple. because God cares about each of the unique stresses that each couple in your group are facing and would like to partner and join with them in facing those struggles. So as you go to your groups today, end in prayer for each couple in your group.